Hey everybody, Co-Creation Nation. I'm Troy Blankenship. This is Lauren Hall. We're just having a quick laugh with our technology issues today because Lauren put up a video that was completely sideways earlier this morning. The last time Lauren and I got on a call, we didn't even realize we were on live for like the first 2 minutes or so, and all of a sudden we're just like, oh wait, we're on live. So we made a commitment before we got on this call that we were going to make sure that we hit it right away as soon as we see live.
So we're live, and this Q&A time is sort of a free-for-all. Not to mean that any of the others were scripted in any way, but we definitely had a specific point that we wanted to talk on. But now we're giving the reins over to you guys, anybody out there listening in live, because if you're listening afterwards, then you can still ask us questions. Just post them in the Facebook thread, and we'll certainly answer them. But our availability right now is for you live to put us on the spot. And if you don't, then we will just ask each other some questions because we love talking about hypnosis.
Yeah, before we get started, Lauren, I just want to say that, I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm going back throughout the day and I'm just like, wow, we really created a lot of fantastic content today, for World Hypnotism Day, with the videos and the collaboration, that we did, individually and together.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, our co-creators, our community really got some wonderful value today.
I hope so.
And it's certainly my hope that it was, they were able to, kind of peek behind the curtains and kind of see, different techniques or different strategies, or, just hear our voices, get used to what this whole world of hypnosis is all about. Even if they just got a small taste of it, I think that was a very awesome experience and a very rewarding experience. So, I mean, a testament to you, for everything that you've done today is remarkable. And I'm just so happy to be part of this process.
I pressed buttons, hopefully the right ones. But yeah, we definitely collaborated on this experience, and we can know for certain whether or not anybody was entertained or learned something. They at least are walking away knowing that World Hypnotism Day is a thing, and that thing has happened today. And as the day's coming to a close, we'll have to wait until next year for January 4th. It's not the first Monday of every year. It's just January 4th. I don't know who started it, but it's an opportunity for people to really kick off the new year with new momentum, because hypnosis, like you guys might have known if you've listened to our podcast or heard me and Troy talking on our other broadcast, hypnosis is a really viable tool to make instant change and shift.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our A's. Since we don't have any live cues, Troy and me are prepared with some of our own cues. Why don't you start us off, Troy? I'm opening my documents.
Well, one thing that I always get is, we'll start very broad here, is, what is hypnosis? What do you think if someone, like, I get that question a lot. I'm sure you get that too. When someone comes to you, Lauren, and says, hey, I kind of see what you do. I kind of see the success that you get with your clientele. I kind of also am looking for that same result, and I'm trying to find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
What's hypnosis? I only know that stage show part of it. How is hypnosis? How is the hypnosis that you do different?
This is an interesting broad question, because there's so much discussion, because you could ask a dozen hypnotists and they're all going to give you different answers, because we're trying to put words to some sort of elusive, non-tangible state of occurrences that exist inside that ambiguous unconscious mind. Most people understand this concept of consciousness and then subconsciousness and maybe even like a third layer of unconscious, but really those are just theories on what our mind is doing. So to me, it's an anomaly to have the mind understand itself, like the eyes trying to see themselves. But I do think it's helpful to look at hypnosis to understand what it is not. To me, hypnosis is not a method. It is not a technique or a process. It's not a script. Hypnosis is a science and art to support, let's say, the subconscious, which usually doesn't use literal English. So it's one definition that I do really appreciate is, the Dave Ellman hypnosis definition. Hypnosis is bypassing the conscious critical faculty. to interact into the subconscious. There's variations on that one definition, but at a summary, that's sort of what it is. Should I ask you the same question? Do you want me to talk more on what is hypnosis, or you want me to pull one of mine out?
No, I mean, I always say it's, we're all doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Hypnosis is something that we all do automatically. We just don't realize that we're doing it. It can be, a specific example, like, you're driving down the road and you just, like if you're driving on the highway and you get to your destination and you just are like, wow, I don't even remember this 15-minute drive, but here I am pulling into my parking spot and I arrive safely. I mean, people may say that's daydreaming. People may say that's zoning out. But I mean, that's a classic example of your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, right? Your conscious mind is off in the hypnosis part, in the daydream, while it's your unconscious mind that's keeping you safe, keeping you in your lane, making sure you don't, God forbid, crash. So that's just one example. I mean, another good example is if anyone has ever tried to pull someone away, like their spouse or their boyfriend or whoever it is, if they try to pull that person away from the TV and that person is watching their favorite sports team in the playoffs
Okay.
with
Yeah.
like 10 seconds left to go in the game, it is nearly impossible to try to pull that person away, right? It's because they're so zoned in, they're so hypnotized by what's happening on the screen, what's happening on the game. I mean, I know for me, I'm like that too. I'm a big sports guy, right? So when I see something like that, if someone tries to have a conversation with me or somebody asks me a question, it's like I don't even hear it sometimes because I'm just so focused in on what I'm focused in on. And that point, and that example, it's the game. So I mean, we all have these moments, right? Whether it's playing with your kids, maybe it's playing with your children, and it's like this is the only moment that matters to you, right? You don't hear the phone ring, you don't hear someone knocking on your door, or whatever it is, right? You're just so focused on creating a beautiful memory with your children. So we all have this ability. It's all natural. It's innate in all of us, and it's just it goes so far above and beyond just that silly stage show that most people think that's all hypnosis really is. And I just
I
think
love
it's
that.
astounding.
Yeah. Yes. Well, 100%, very astounding. But it sounds like sort of what you're answering would be a question of, does hypnosis work for everybody, or who can be hypnotized? Because that's, what it sounds like you're saying is that everybody can be, because everybody experiences that sense of, hypnotic entrainment or entrancement, or just hyper focus and sort of what would be, what words would you use to describe where you fade away from all the background stuff and you're just hyper aware.
Mhm.
And usually we don't feel ourselves going down, but sort of like when you come back, you sort of think, wow, where was I? Like in the highway hypnosis example you were giving, you don't really feel yourself trancing out. It's more when you snap back and you think, oh man, if I missed my exit, like what have I been doing for the past 20 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a very common thing. I mean, it's maybe you get so involved in what at work, so involved with a specific work project and you just lose track of time.
Yeah.
That's hypnosis, that you're zoning into, a specific project at work. You're so focused on getting it done. You're so focused on making it right, whatever it is. I mean, athletes do the same thing. The brain cannot tell the difference between what is visualized and what is actually happening in real time. So what do athletes know that we don't? I'm just surprised. I mean, you have these big name, big time, largely paid athletes that sit 20, 30 minutes before big games or any game really, and they just sit there, they close their eyes and they visualize. And they're going through all the motions. They're going through all the motions of them being on the basketball court, or them being on the football field, or them being on the ice skating rink,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just they're visualizing and they're mentally rehearsing. It's like they have these mental reps, mental reps, mental reps. That's because they realize their brain cannot tell the difference between them actually visualizing them taking and making the winning shot, or them actually being on the basketball court in real time, making and actually sinking that game-winning ball. So it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same practice. And I feel like it's one of those things where if someone comes to me and they say, well, I'm not sure if I could be hypnotized with the clientele that I deal with, right? People who are anxious and stressed,
Mhm.
they're already doing it.
Oh, yeah, they're in hypnosis, whether or not they had called it that or
Mhm,
even considered it. Because even what you're talking about with athletes,
mhm.
uh, probably most professional athletes have a sports psychologist or at least, a coach who likely has trained them to use those hypnotic techniques. Maybe they call it hypnosis. Maybe they don't because hypnosis, at least where we are in the southeast region of the U.S., there's still stigmas and mysticism and just this sort of fear on hypnosis as it's been portrayed in movies, maybe like even some really old movies, but some recent movies too, where it's like a person who's a hypnotist is potentially capable to have power over you and they can get inside your brain and make you do things that
Yeah.
that you don't want to do. So this, while we're talking about people that can be hypnotized, right? Which is everybody is capable. Not everybody will go into that suggestible, like change work state because of resistance. And now, it's not to say that you can't use some mentalism and NLP techniques to really work with a person who may be unconsciously resisting because of fear or just really intense sort of inner like programming. But you could definitely reject suggestions from a hypnotist. A lot of people will ask me about stage shows, not because I'm doing stage shows, but that's just their association to hypnosis.
Sure,
And
sure.
so they're like, does it really work? Really? And I'm like, yeah, because consider the hypnotist usually is sort of like a magician. They got some sleight of hand. They're doing a lot of improv, so they just kind of make it work. They've done some compliance exercises ahead of time before bringing whoever volunteers in the audience up on stage. And what I
Mhm.
think is interesting in the philosophy of like group think and just that stage show element is the hypnotist generally isn't picking the most eager people because they might already consider those people are going to want to sort of make a spectacle of themselves, or maybe they just really want to get on stage so they can like prove the hypnotist is not a wizard. So they almost want like the
Right.
the secondary compliers. So if
Yes.
you're doing like a hand clasp suggestibility, it's not the people who like immediately clasp the hands, it's the people who are just participating because another 10% of the audience is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you for that. So when you talk about, the hand clasp, I don't see I mean, if it's a stage show, fine, I
Mhm.
understand why you're doing it, right? Because you're understanding the power of your body and the power of your mind. I get it. But when it comes to, my practice, I don't do any of that because what I want to focus on is something that I can use and teach and employ to allow the individual, to allow my client to feel empowered, right? When you do like the hand clasp, I don't know if people know the hand clasp, but basically what you do is you're going to sit there with your hands clasped and you imagine that your hands are basically going to be glued together and there's nothing that you can do to pull them apart, right? And
Mhm.
believe it or not, that actually works for a percentage of people. That's how these stage hypnotists, kind of pick their members to come up on stage, their audience members to come up on stage. But for me, in my practice, it's not about that because if someone can't, if somebody can't pull their hands apart, in my opinion, in my practice, that is a very disempowering thing, right? It's like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, how do I get out of this thing? I want to do the opposite of that, in my practice, because someone's coming to me, they already are feeling, out of control. They already have anxiousness. They already have fear, worry,
Certainly.
uncertainty, right? So it's a very empowering thing. So we're taking the same power, we're using the same energy, we're using your same brain, but we're just pointing it towards empowerment. We're allowing you to walk into your own personal power and realize that for what it is. And we spoke about this earlier, but it's allowing you to see your bigger picture because there's always going to be a trickle down effect. Your brain holds no judgments. Doesn't matter if you have bad habits or good habits
No, it doesn't, because
to
if
your
it's in the
brain.
brain, then it's just in the brain. It doesn't consider it being not in the brain, because then it just would not be.
Right. So we want to empower. We want to empower the individual to make the change and to put them back in control of their life. Because I mean, look,
Mhm.
they're coming and they already are feeling out of control. They already feel like they have a lesser degree of of whatever quality of life that they're living up until that point. So
Right.
our responsibility is to make sure we're empowering these people, empowering these clients to show them a better path and to allow their brain to try on these new habits. And once that happens, the brain will generalize the change, and then you'll see the trickle down effect. And that's why you have to look at the big picture of everything, because that habit, whether it's good or bad, will trickle down to everything in your life.
Yeah, I love that you're the big picture guy, because that really does help to interrupt the sort of nasty details of the people that you serve in the specialty, because the philosophy that you have is very appropriate. But another philosophy on compliance testing in hypnosis, can, for some skeptics, people who um, are willing to participate, but they sort of want the pudding first, give me the proof, like make me believe that you can sort of control my subconscious mind in real time while I sit and observe consciously. So I understand, both the philosophies of, hypnotists doing compliance tests, and like you're saying, there's no value to sort of uh, suggest a person to comply, because them clasping their hands together is not the goal that they have. Just like we talked earlier, barking like a dog, which is, they don't do that in all stage shows. They're endlessly creative, but it's that same sense of non-necessary hypnotic suggestion. I have a
There-
question from Troy. Go
There's a
ahead.
big difference. Yeah, there's a big difference between a stage show and a clinical hypnosis practice.
Definitely.
There's a big difference. You have someone coming up on stage for the stage show for purely entertainment value,
Mhm.
purely entertainment value. You have somebody coming to your clinical hypnosis practice because they want empowerment. They're looking for positive change. And that is a drastic difference. Someone who's looking for positive change, it's a big drastic difference than just getting a couple of laughs from an audience.
Well, that I have an inclusive mindset. So I hope and want and wish that hypnotists out there already, if you're doing it, like tell us on our channel so that we can help the world find you. But I want stage hypnosis arena that is doing the change work, because like I talked about, the group think element, and of course people are doing group hypnosis, even virtually.
Mhm.
But what I mean is, with the stage avenue, then you have people who are sort of coming, onto the hot seat, and maybe you do it one by one, or you bring a couple of people up there, but you just sort of support a person to, the way I would see it going down is expand their emotional range, maybe cry and laugh, because we were talking about that a little bit earlier, like how therapeutic that is. And also, there's this model of grief, and that grief, in order for it to best be metabolized, and I don't just mean grief of loss of people in your life. We can grieve all things. We grieve ideas that we lost, or that somebody stole, or that we could never build momentum on. We have grief, and for that grief to be um, completely metabolized, it needs to be expressed in a group. So this is why I think stage hypnosis for therapy work. So my business, modern day hypnosis, I thought that I would call it modern night hypnosis. We'll see, right? Coming soon potentially. Yeah.
No, then you could do, modern morning hypnosis, modern twilight hypnosis, right?
Ooh. Okay. I'll tomorrow I'll be on Canva making some graphics for that. So now I have
Speaking of grieving, just so you know, Lauren, I grieve every time we end our calls because I'm just like, wow, that was such a fantastic conversation. Why does it have to come to an end?
you guys, you probably think that me and Troy are just like fangirling because like we get to spend this whole day together, but this is pretty much our life. Like Troy and me are on each other's schedule a couple of times throughout the week, and then a couple of unscripted times too, because we both just have like a lot of energy and a lot of passion, and a true genuine drive to be of service, because these techniques are life changing, and we want people to know it. That's why we are fumbling through the learning curve of technology, so that we can put our faces and hearts out there to, to entertain and support whoever might be out there listening. I don't know if people are out there listening right now and asking us questions. If you are asking questions and I haven't answered, it's because my screen freezes up. So I hope nobody's out there like trying to get a question answered that we're not doing.
Well, if they can, all they have to do is just drop their question in the comment section below.
In which comment section below?
It
We're
should be the
doing this.
comment section of this live, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we and the other podcast lives, or excuse me, like uh, Zoom to Facebook lives that we've done earlier today, we had people comment and we saw it. So I just wanted to say, we'll get to your questions as my page loads. But I have a question for you, Troy.
All right.
Now, we haven't talked really about our individual hypnosis experiences in our podcast. We've talked a little bit about how hypnosis entered our life, but I want to know from you if you can remember your very first hypnosis session
Mhm.
and like exactly what it was like. Like, did they do any compliance testing? Do you remember what imagery? Because I can remember mine, but you don't have to ask me about it. I could, I'll make a video if people really want to know about it. I want to know about yours.
So the reason why I have haven't a practice devoted towards anxiety and stress and fear is because I also had anxiety, once upon a time. And I had, done the traditional route, right? I had gone to see therapists. I had gone to see, psychiatrists. Doctors wanted to put me on medicine. I did the acupressure, the acupuncture. I ran the gamut with it all, right? And this was a number of years ago now, and nothing was working. I didn't, for me, I didn't want to do certain things, but the things that I was doing, it just wasn't working for me. And I tried to engage in conversations with the people the doctors or the therapists or whatever, and I don't know, for me, whatever the reason was, it just didn't seem to be working for me, right? That was my experience with it. And so I decided that I was going to do some research, and I found, hypnosis, here in North Carolina, just like I'm sure many different states all across this wonderful country. There's plenty of, well-intentioned, good-meaning clinical hypnotists and hypnotherapists, out there, changing the world one client at a time, one person at a time. And so I looked at, my situation, and I said, well, the stuff that I've been doing here for the past, year or two, just it's not working for me. So what do I have to lose to go, and get this hypnosis thing done? I mean, I didn't know much about it at that point. So I went, and I just remember, and for people who don't know, okay, my anxiety stemmed from tight places. I was okay in elevators as long as they didn't, get stuck. Luckily, knock on wood, none did.
Mhm.
But it came from driving anxiety. If I get on an airplane, it would happen on an airplane, just enclosed spaces where I felt trapped. And so I went to you know my very first hypnosis session, and I'll always remember walking back to my car after the first session, and I was like, wow, I just felt so relaxed and so calm, and it was like nothing that I'd ever felt before in terms of the relaxation and the change. I mean, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was like, I feel like something changed. I feel like something moved or shifted or whatever it was. And I remember getting in my car and driving home, and I was like, I don't have that anxiety all the way home. I just, I felt just, I pulled up to my house, I got out of my car, and I was like, I feel just as relaxed as I did, in this, what I think was like 20-minute drive, as I did stepping out of, the office after the
Yeah.
session. And I was like, well, this is a great start, I suppose, but I want to see if it's going to last. I want to see if it's going to stick around. And so I went back for a few more sessions. I think we did a total of 3 or 4. I can't remember. But I felt better every time. I saw changes. I saw results. I saw success. And I just was completely floored that this, like no one had told me about this. I had done the research to figure out, well, this is an option. So let me try it. And I was like, all right, aside from trying to find a mountaintop or a skyscraper and just shouting this great, thing, this
Yeah.
great story to the world, I was like, well, this really resonated with me so much. What can I do? I mean, that's how much it really touched me. And that's how much I really feel like it changed the course of my life. So
Wow.
I just decided that I was going to get educated, and I was going to learn how to do it. And my education is continuing to grow. I mean, it's not something that I'm ever going to stop doing. I mean, I love hypnosis. I love seeing people change, because when someone comes to me and they transform and they have that change, I see myself and my story in them. Could be different, right, in terms of their anxiety and the anxiety that I used to have, but I see that transformation. And I always will tell people right off the bat that I'm very envious before they even come in for their first session. I say, I'm very envious of your situation right now, because you're only going to have this one moment, right? Where it's like your eyes are just open to this change, and you don't realize how powerful you truly are. And when you realize that, when you have that change and when you have this transformation, then you'll know. And it's that part that I'm very envious about, because, once your eyes are open to it, it's not like you can put it back in the box and, like, be surprised again tomorrow. It's like, well, now I'm in this world. So I tell my clients that, it's a very special moment in their life. And if they put
Yeah.
in, the 5 or 10 or 15 minutes of, a little bit of effort every day, and condition in these new habits and condition in these success stories, they too can see the change, and they too can see the shift. And it's like, I think I said this earlier, right? It's like me, I feel like I have the best seat in the house. I have the front row seat to watching people completely transform and change. And I wish people could sometimes be like a fly on my wall, right? Because if they could hear how some of these people talk and act and feel from the very first phone consultation that I have with somebody, and then have that transformation, and see that transfer for how they're talking on the second session, how they're talking and feeling about themselves on the third session, it's like a completely different voice. It's like a completely different person, still the same person, but how they see the world, how they see themselves, how they're walking into their own empowerment. So it's a very special thing. I hope that answers your question. That was kind of a long-winded
That was a
answer.
beautiful story. I mean, you really, you pulled out some emotions. It made me feel so happy for you that you found something that worked, because it definitely is heartbreaking to consider how many people are out there still looking for something to support them. And
Right.
you know, we're hypnotists, so we're biased, but whatever you find, if it works, that's amazing, and tell us what it is, and so that anybody else that's reading our information can try that too, because
Yeah.
we're all different. We all need different support. But this is a therapy that has been around for a long time.
Mhm.
Do you know this, Troy, about stage hypnosis and sort of how it started to become this thing? So, it's been in the medical community a lot longer, and even like in past cultures, right? Like the sleep temples, the shaman, the priest, or whatever sense of doctrine or culture that would use hypnotic techniques, especially like spiral discs. You would stare at that spiral disc as sort of an eye entrancement
Hmm.
to elicit that focus and sort of relax you down into, let's say, the beta brainwave state to alpha and beyond. But medical doctors were, at a sense, the fly on a wall to watch somebody administering hypnosis. And then it became, sort of more and more entertaining as they started to observe people like getting surgery without anesthesia, but not having pain, through the power of hypnosis. I mean, this has been documented in the American Medical Association like since the 50s, and British medical associations, and a ton of really highly accredited organizations that talk about hypnosis.
Mhm.
So that was interesting when you were talking about this fly on the wall. That made me think about that, how hypnosis got into the stage arena in the first place. But I love your story. Now, you talked a little bit about it, but I want to ask like how weird you were thinking hypnosis was initially. But we do have a question that came in, so I'll refresh and see if we have other questions. But we have an outsider's question. Did you want to tell me about hypnosis, like how weird it was for you to consider? Because you were doing acupuncture, which I know people
Well, I can tell you
also.
at that point, it wasn't that strange for me, because I just wanted my anxiety to be gone. So
Yeah,
at that point, I was just like, at this point, I'll try anything. I mean, and that's normally, and that's, I mean, but that's one reason why we did this Co-Creation Nation podcast. I mean, that's why we have such a wonderful community. I mean, that's why we, put up content like this, right? Because in our opinions, why does hypnosis have to be this secondary thing? Why can't it be something that's, just like everything else? Why can't it be another viable option, just like anything else, and then have the individual choose? If it's right for them, it's, that's great. If it's not, it's not. But at least have the option there, because for me, like, nobody told me about it. No one told me about it. I had to do my own research to figure out what it was and how it worked, or how I thought it worked at the time. And so
right.
I just decided that I was going to do it. I mean, nothing else had worked for me, and I was like, well, we're going to try this. I mean, So it's one of those things where, um, I mean, a
You
couple of months ago,
currently
you and I had a
have
discussion about that. I mean, why not create a community and bring on people who have had hypnosis, who have seen results and have massive social proof, and have them tell their own stories, right? Because it's not about me and my story. It's about having people understand and realize that this is a real thing. Like that change is possible. And just because you have, whatever the issue is, I'll use my market as an example. If someone comes to me and they have anxiety for 10 years, it doesn't mean that you have to continually deal with that, right?
no.
You just have to show your brain a different way. And in my world and the change work that I do, anxiety, stress, fear, worry, uncertainty, they're all habits. And your brain is designed to break habits. You just have to understand how to communicate with your brain in order to do it. Hypnosis, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to do it. You can create the change, and it also creates lasting change. And that's what's most important.
How lucky, almost, but honestly, that you had the anxiety that you did to help you have that firsthand experience of being genuine and trying
Right.
everything on. Because guys, Troy, one of the like pleasures in working with him, and is he is such a genuine soul who has a real mission that he really works tirelessly towards, which is to be of service and to collaborate in a sort of inspiringly humble way. So luckily you found hypnosis. Now the woman, or well, the person that hypnotized you, is this the same person who trained you initially in hypnosis? I'm just curious. I didn't know.
No, different
Okay.
people. Yeah.
All right. So we'll talk more about your experience, but let's answer our audience's question. So Luke's asked, well, this is so interesting. Do you find that results fade or that clients need to renew what they're working on? Which is a great question. Do you want me to answer? Or you want to go first?
Yeah, no, go ahead and I'll answer after.
Okay, well, what I will say to answer this is absolutely the results do not fade. Instead, it's odd to me that the results continue to sort of unfold, meaning that people that come in for X and X specific issue, it's like this issue is now such a non-event in a subtle way, right? When you agree, Troy, it's like something's changed, but I don't really know what. Let me just get in the car where I used to hyperventilate. Let me just get in the car and think about it. And I'll just think about it the whole way home, but I'm calm and breathing. And I'm still trying to figure out what's changed. But now also they like have, instead of the only solution of no longer feeling anxiety, they start feeling more resilience, more sort of like inner effortless peace, sleeping better. Their diet likely is going to like start subtly to improve as they become more mindful of just, what am I eating and why am I wanting that? And, sure, cookies are great, but do I really want 8 cookies, or like have 3 cookies just been satisfying? So
Yeah.
that's my answer to this question, Luke. I hope that was clear, that you don't need a renewment on your specific goals. Instead, those goals and the work that you do, even though it might take a couple of of sessions or like a short time frame of support to get you there. To me, in my opinion, hypnosis is not a long-term therapy. You're not going to need months and months of this. Although we do have some people, I think Troy, you and I had similar models where some people work with us on a sense of retainer, and we to them are kind of like the mentalist coach.
Yeah.
But it's not that they need this infinite ongoing renewal. What do
Well,
you
yeah, I mean, different strokes, different folks. I mean, that's
think?
kind of how I would put it. The key that I have in my practice is, we need to see momentum. When someone has anxiety for any length of time, whether it's 5 months or 5 years, we need to have momentum. We need to get the ball rolling in the direction that they want to go in, which is normally the opposite direction of, the fear and the anxiety and the stress.
Yeah.
Once you get the ball rolling, once you get the momentum going, your brain will start to generalize the change, right? So I always make it a practice, a protocol that, well, let me preface it like this. When someone contacts me, right, and we hop on the phone and we do a consultation call, I always ask the question, what has your last 30 days been like, right? What has your last month been like? Because I want to see what changes we can have between that last 30 days and the next 30 days. And that's what we're going to measure. the
Mhm.
30 days prior to when we started working, and the next 30 days when we're actually working towards this change, right? That's the measure of success, in my opinion, in my practice. Once you see the change, more importantly, once the brain sees the change, we have to foster that momentum. When you do, the brain will start to generalize the change. And that's why, like I was talking about earlier, you have this trickle down effect, right? So if somebody comes and they want to work on generalized anxiety or social anxiety or driving anxiety, right? It's just a seed, because now we're going to work on this. We're going to address this issue, but understand, and I let my clients know that they need to see the bigger picture. Just because you're coming to me for driving anxiety doesn't mean you're not going to see changes in your confidence in something else that
Yeah.
may be completely unrelated to what we're working on, because this is how the brain works. This is how the brain is designed to work. So there's always a period, I call it the flux, right? Where the brain is still kind of teeter tottering. And again, this is only based upon my market because I deal with anxiety. So the brain is teeter tottering for maybe a couple of days or a week. Well, do I go back down this old road of anxiety, or do I point towards this new path that you're showing me now?
Mhm.
So again, it's conditioning, it's repetition for those 10, 15 minutes a day. Once you start having that generalization, once the brain starts making the connection, once you start gaining back that neural real estate in your brain and
Yeah.
getting back in control of your life, then that's when the brain will really start to make the changes. And that's why someone sees changes in becoming closer, let's say, with a relationship with their spouse, or having more meaningful moments with their children, or going to get that, having that confidence to walk into their office and asking for that bonus or that raise or promotion, right? But again, this is how the brain learns. And again, getting back to my point a few minutes ago, the brain doesn't judge. It doesn't care if you have good habits or bad habits. The brain's one job is to learn. So if it learns this change, if it learns this transformation, if it learns this generalization, and it's going towards what it is that somebody wants, which is more joy and happiness and feeling relief and feeling freedom and all of this, then you'll see that come up in different aspects of your life. And that's when it starts to be lasting change, right? But
Mhm.
again, it's all about that momentum. It's about
Yeah.
continually showing your brain for those first couple of days or a week to say, hey, this is, you keep pointing your brain towards this new way, this new path, this new habit. Because if you don't, I found that people, because the old way is really alluring, because the old way is really easy, the brain will default back to that easy way. So
Yeah.
again, it takes a little bit of effort in the beginning to get the ball rolling, to get your brain to realize and become aware of the change. And then from there, you can see the results.
Okay, that's a great, I like that answer. It makes me want to make some amendments on mine. So I hope
Well,
we're answering your
I mean,
question.
it is what it is. I mean, I really liked your answer too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's we have our own different ways of explaining it. That's all.
I guess one thing, though, because right now, like as we're moving into from 2020 to 2021 resolution time, I've got a lot of people who are coming in for hypnosis for smoking cessation. I think weight loss and smoking cessation, like somebody must have done really great marketing in the 90s, because that seems to be like the categories that most people consider to use hypnosis for.
Yeah.
I've got people coming for hypnosis for smoking who have done hypnosis for smoking in the past. And it was funny to me that I was getting like a bunch of people back to back. I mean, I've always gotten a lot of smokers, but for people who it like, I quit, 20 years ago, and now I just want to do it again. And so when Luke's talking about renewing, it's sort of like maybe he's asking on that. And so to me, in a way, think about hypnosis as like massage therapy. And maybe your body has like gotten super tense, or you've had an injury. And so you're going to use a therapy like massage to loosen things out. So if you have some other sort of thing, or after a couple of decades because of bad posture or whatever, and this is an odd analogy to try to use, but your body's back in that state, then sure, you're going to use hypnosis again.
Mhm.
But like just with these people that I'm working with for smoking, their story with cigarettes has pretty well changed, because the first time that they quit, I'm really diving into, well, what made you start again? And usually it's like a super big stressor. Some of them, it was like they wanted to stop smoking so much and then just start smoking socially.
Mhm.
So it's almost like it is two different issues. It just seems to have the same sort of, let's say, overlying symptom. Because I like what you were talking about, Troy. It makes me think about the anxiety. is like this overlying symptom of some inner dissonance that what psychology would say happens before, between the ages of like 1 and 4 or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? The subconscious doesn't care about the psychology. The subconscious is always shuffling through a story. And this is where hypnosis is super easy to interrupt that story.
I mean, it's, I go back and forth with it because, I mean, you have to, in my opinion, you have to have someone see the big picture of things. But when you really get down to the change work that happens with anxiety, right, because it is a habit, you have to really drill down and become specific. It's like someone comes and they say, well, I have anxiety. Right? Let me back up. Back in the day, right, people used to say, I'm anxious. When
Uh-huh.
someone says I'm anxious, it's a nominalization because it's talking about a specific thing or a specific person or a specific situation or a specific moment. As a society, what we've done is we've taken that and we've broadened it. And now someone says, I have anxiety.
Yeah.
And people get stuck with that concept of, oh, I now have anxiety because now they don't know where to turn. Like, how do I address this big thing of anxiety, right? Because it's not this specific thing anymore. It's this broader aspect. It's this broader concept. So what we want to do is we want to take that broad concept and now bring it back down to a narrower scope and bring it back down to that nominalization, because that way the brain can wrap around, I'm anxious over this external situational trigger. I'm
Mhm.
anxious over this change of my emotional state. Once you knock down enough of those nominalizations, that's when the brain will start to generalize. And that's when someone sees the change. And that's when someone sees that trickle down effect across the entire, spectrum of their life.
Yeah. I like that. When you were talking about it, it makes me think about how simple the mind could understand. Like, I've got long hair. It's like I have this, but I don't always have to have it. I could cut it or I could grow it longer. Uh, we are in control. And so don't ever feel like those words that you've used to describe yourself to yourself or to others have to be the words.
Mhm.
Anxiety, not only because of like, the political and environmental and social and pandemic, uh, people were in a state of, let's say, extreme anxiety and stress far before 2020. So it's just been compounding. And there's an interesting show on Netflix. I think that it's called like The Mind Explained or Anxiety Explained or something. I started
Mhm.
watching a little bit of it with my sister, and it was really painting this picture about how for decades, like society, specifically, our like fast-paced Western society, has just been falling into this pit hole of perpetual momentous anxiety, and then we've got all of these coping mechanisms, which coping mechanisms are great to help support you in a sense of distress. But while you are getting the support for your distress, now is time to do the change. It's like help yourself feel better so that I'm doing this gesture, help yourself feel better so that you can find some strategy to get better, right? Because I don't want to just keep masking my symptoms. That to me is not my optimum. Not when something out there exists that's like play therapy.
Yeah, I mean, coping is fine if that's how you want to live your life, but it's not the, in my opinion, it's not the best way that somebody could be living their life. Coping means you're managing, coping means that you're dealing, but coping means that you're getting stuck in that cycle, right? You're getting stuck on that hamster wheel of anxiety, going
Mhm.
around and around and around. And I would rather, in my opinion, see, that's where my story comes in, since you were asking about it. It's like I did not want to keep throwing a band-aid over an issue or a challenge that clearly needed more than just a band-aid, right? I didn't want to keep getting in my car and feeling anxious. I didn't want to keep going through all these symptoms and feeling this, this horrible way. So, the change comes from the empowerment, right?
Mhm.
It's like, someone keeps looking at their external environment and hoping there's some sort of solution out there, and there may be. Who am I to say that there isn't? But in my opinion, when somebody comes to me, they're ready to make the internal change. They're ready to make that change and put themselves back in their own power. And that's why, when I say somebody comes in my practice and they want to work on their anxiety and change it, it's I'm teaching you a skill set, right? Just like you teach your clients, you're teaching them a skill set. So you're arming them So then they go back into their life and back into their world, and now they know exactly what they need to do, and that creates empowerment,
Yeah.
right? Because the last thing that I want is someone coming into a session and feeling absolutely fantastic, and then that session ends, and then they go back into the world, and then everything falls apart.
Absolutely.
That's not empowerment, right?
No,
They need to
not at
know
all.
exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it within 10 to 15 seconds to change their emotional state. Once they do that enough and they see the success and they see the solution and they see the result, then they're walking into their true empowerment. And that's when you can start to break a habit.
We don't want a dependency, guys. No, no
Right.
codependency here. That's just another flavor of a same symptom. So yeah, we're genuinely just giving you as much information about hypnosis as you could take today. So I hope that you guys
Well,
like
I guess in a way, now that I think about it, I guess I'm kind of putting myself out of business.
that's a good goal, you know.
But you know what? But you know what? That's fine with me because, and I make that joke, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Because I don't want somebody to keep coming back to me.
Right.
I want them to realize their own true personal power. I'm teaching them a skill set. I teach them this success. I teach them what to do and how to do it. That's, we're facilitators, we're educators, right? We teach, and that's what we have the passion to do, right?
Yeah.
But for me, from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure you're like this too, Lauren, is you want that person to go out and you want them to own their life. You want them to own their moments and live the
Yep.
best possible life that they can live,
Wow.
that they deserve. I mean, that's right. Is that not true? You want them to
Oh
own it.
yeah, 100%. I'm just loving your words. Like you get me really jazzed up.
Yeah, you want them to own the moment. You want them to own their life and own their decisions. And you know what? We all live on planet Earth, right? We all live in this world. And if I had a magic wand and if I could wave it in the air and make sure that there's no more anxious moments for anybody,
Yep.
I mean, I'd be like a gazillionaire, right? Because everybody would want my services then. But the fact of the matter is, we live we live in a world, we live in this life, and there's going to be moments that come up that are going to be unexpected. There's going to be moments that come up where you're not going to like. The
Yeah.
difference is in how you respond to them. And if you have this skill set, right? And if you have this knowledge, and if you have learned these integrative hypnosis tools, you know that you can get out of a negative emotional state within 10 to 15 seconds. And that is true power, because now you're separating yourself from everybody else who wishes they had what you have,
That's
that
the best.
wishes that they know what you now know, right? So
Mhm.
understand that, and I tell my clients this too. I don't want you to come think of me like I'm some sort of like online guru. I mean, I don't know what you tell your people, right? But that's what I say. I say, look, don't. I mean, I'm not some guru. I'm
Right.
teaching you a skill set that's going to put you in power, and it's going to be your choice as to whether or not you want to employ this or not. If you do, and if you see the success, and again, a lot of people see success from the very first session because, again, they've been dealing with this anxiety for 10, 15, 20 years. They want it gone 2 weeks ago from yesterday. So my role is to teach them these tools from the very first session so they can walk back into their life and know that they can change any upswell of negative emotion. And once they realize that, and once they have those experiences that they can hang their hat on,
Mhm.
now they realize how powerful they truly are. And that means that when, if they were to manage another anxious moment in this world, they know how to change their emotional state. And that
Yeah.
by itself is power. And what greater gift, in my opinion, what greater gift can someone have? Can someone give themselves than to give them the best possible quality of life for the rest of their years in this world?
Yes, that gift is priceless,
It is.
and it's so rewarding, the type of work that we get to do. And I feel like even though hypnotism is a somewhat small industry, that it continues to grow as people like you get supported and then just think, oh my God, this is so powerful. And it's so interesting. Uh, I love it. I had other things while you were talking that I thought to say, but they're gone now. And so what I really want to say is just thank you so much, Troy, for doing this with me all day today. It's been so much fun. I want to come back on live and do more Q&A, even just with us. Like if I am missing other people who are out there, I don't know. Luke said thanks, so we answered his question.
Okay, well, that's good.
What do you think the first Monday of the month, like next month we do this?
Mhm.
Because today's the first Monday. So we could say the 4th, which is January 4th, because we did today for World Hypnotism Day, but who knows where that's going to fall in the week. So just for clarity, next first Monday in February, we will be back live. I don't know what time yet. What do you think? You want to just let people know? We'll announce it on our
Yeah,
Facebook thread.
we can make the announcements as the time gets closer. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So if anybody has questions that they want us to discuss, through talking like this, then send them to us. We'll send you a private video or however it is, because we literally just love talking about hypnosis because it really deserves that sort of credit.
Yeah.
Any last thing you want to ask me tonight, Troy? I got to go in just a second.
No, I just want to say thank you for spending your World Hypnotism Day with me all day today. You're probably sick and tired of seeing my face here on Zoom and hearing my voice, but I just want to say that there is, in my opinion, for me, there's nobody else I'd rather want to spend this day with than you and our Co-Creation Nation community. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I'm really appreciative that you took the time to do this with me, because I know that we're both super busy with everything, but we wanted to make it a point to come on here and celebrate hypnosis and World Hypnotism Day and spend some time connecting with our audience. And I'm just super happy and super proud of what we've covered today. And I really know that we've covered a lot of information that I think will be able to help a lot of people in the future, because they can come back and watch these replays anytime that they want.
I hope they get value. If not value, then entertainment for sure. I will expect that if anybody's listened to all of our content today, then you understand some of me and Troy's speaking styles, and definitely let us know, like all of those games that people play. It's like, how many times are they going to say this? I might say that Troy's word might be empowerment. It's like, how many times did Troy say that? Who cares? Say it a million times. I love that word.
Yeah. That's yeah. If you want to do a drinking game to empowerment, you might not be. Yeah. It's not going to take you very long, I don't think. What was it like? One of those songs, right? Like you take a shot every time they say a word or something like that, right?
Songs. I don't know.
Yeah,
Songs.
it's like, I don't know, like songs like, oh, they say this word so much in this one song, so you got to drink a beer or drink a shot or something like that, and you
Must be
hope
a
to make it
northern
to the end
thing.
of the song or a movie or something like that. You ever heard that?
I mean, for movies, yeah, but never a song.
Oh,
But I would think it in alignment with mental optimum resonance, to the true being that you have all potentials to be. Water is going to be your
that's right.
best
I'll take a shot of my water. That's
your
right.
best hydration. Yeah, pure. Pure, wonderful water. There's so many different qualities of water. I could do a whole presentation on water, which I have for my Toastmasters group. So love talking about water, love talking about hypnosis. I love talking with you, Troy. And
This has been
thank you,
great.
audience.
And make sure that, I just want to let them know too, that if they want us to talk about anything else, to make sure that they comment below in the comment section and just, connect with us over on Co-Creation Nation, right here on Co-Creation Nation, right here on Facebook, and just say, hey, what topics would you like us to cover? What kind of things would you like us to, cover and speak to in upcoming podcasts? Because again, this whole operation, Co-Creation Nation is a collaborative effort between the two of us and our audience and our listeners.
We haven't talked about, yes. So if you haven't listened to our podcast, guys, this podcast channel exists to bring the real stories, the real proof, other real hypnotists or other, psychologists, just everyday all people to come on and have a conversation with us similar to this, like through our Zoom channel. So if you've done hypnosis and you want to tell people about it, reach out to us. You can go to the website, hypnosisinaction.com, and connect with us there, get up on the mailing list or just email us directly so that you can get your story broadcast through our channels and through whoever else you would want to tell about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you everybody for listening. Happy World Hypnotism Day, everybody. Happy World Hypnotism Day, Lauren. This has been a fantastic thing. And we'll come back. If you want to do it, we'll come back and we'll do it the 1st of next month too. We'll make some announcements leading up to that.
Yeah, I mean, first Monday of the month sounds good for me. So we'll plan it at least 1 month in advance at a time. And as me and Troy learn these marketing social media know-hows. We'll see
Well,
how
it's
this
just the technology. Yeah, it's just the technology side of things. But yeah, no, it's, people want to know we're real. People want to know that we make silly mistakes, and that's what we do. So I mean, that's why we got videos up there that are all upside down and turned around and all this stuff. And it's just, hey, it's part of our personalities. And we purposely didn't take this stuff down because we want people to understand that we're just, we're just humans. We're just
Is that why
people.
we haven't? I thought we would take it down. Okay, I guess it stays up there. You can always see my mishap. Troy, you'll have to do it sideways now.
All right, I'll do an upside down.
Embarrassed. That I would be impressed actually, because I understand how I did it the sideways, but we're hypnotists. So the up and coming future is unexpected, but it's all for your betterment, guys. Thanks so much. Good night.
Have a good night.